Hey everybody, NFT fans, welcome back to the Nifty podcast. I'm your host, Eugene Crypto FC. We explore what's going on in the NFT space, separate the essence from hype, and try to realize the potential of NFTs to change the world, how we live and how we do business. And today I'm proudly saying that I'm joined by, I would say, my ideological brother, R.L. Bryer, aka Pittsburgh HODLr. He's right now in the Pittsburgh area in the United States. He's been covering the crypto space since the beginning of its history, 2009. He's the author of the Blockchain Project Renaissance, Volume 1st and 2nd. He's also been the guest of countless Bitcoin and cryptocurrency-related podcasts throughout the world, including ours, Transatlantic Crypto Podcast. Every chance he speaks on Austrian economics and how Bitcoin is the world's permanent money. I'm super excited to have him on the Nifty podcast. How are you doing, sir?
Excellent. It's always great to be with you. I haven't seen you in a few months, so yeah, it always puts a smile on my face, and I appreciate that tremendous welcome and introduction today. Thank you.
I've been consuming a lot of content regarding NFTs recent months, but I have never seen discussions about NFTs from the Austrian economics point of view. So today, we're about to fill this gap. But first of all, because you're a really historic person in the crypto, in my opinion, I would like you to tell the audience the brief story. How did you get into the blockchain space?
Yeah, I was starting to get very interested in how the world worked. I was in my early 20s, and I was getting more and more interested in politics and government, how everything comes together with markets and I was leaning towards capitalism, but I kind of, I found Bitcoin in 2009. I believe I was on Twitter. I don't remember if it was an article or a video, but I found it in 2009, probably late 2009, because I remember that was the last year I was living in the house that I remember sitting in while I was actually finding Bitcoin for the first time. So, but yeah, that kind of all culminated together when Ron Paul ran for president of the United States, and he led me down the Austrian Economics rabbit hole, and that sort of really reaffirmed my belief that Bitcoin was the way to go to achieve free markets, sound money, really the rule of law, everything that libertarians and people who believe in the Austrian School of Economics believe in. So that was like my introduction, and then I had some jobs out of college that I did, normal jobs, and in 2017 I decided to write my first book on Bitcoin and, as you know, the Blockchain Project Renaissance, and really just started to try to educate people as much as possible about why I thought this was all going to be inevitable in the end. So I've written another book since then. I've written 2 books. I've written for a lot of news organizations in crypto, and as you noted, done a lot of podcasts. So I just really try to spread the Bitcoin and sound money gospel and try to intertwine my belief in the Austrian school, which really led me here. The greats, Mises, Rothbard, Hans Hoppe, all those guys that led me to really understand money. And I think that's something that, no matter where you live in the world today, there's a lack of education, whether or not it's intentional or not, we can have that debate. And I think you and I know whether it's intentional or not, but there's definitely a lack of education on markets and money and what is money and just overall how the market works and what the function of voluntary exchange, which is just capitalism. So yeah, but that's my kind of how I got down this rabbit hole.
Well, sounds well. I really enjoyed to talk to you because Austrian economics are the basis, the educational basis to understand crypto. We will be talking about that lately. I don't know how you specifically involved into the NFT movement, but every crypto man, every crypto kind of world has heard about the crypto hype recent month. It's impossible not to miss it. How do you explain the reasons of the NFTs hype the world had faced the recent ninth month?
Yeah, I think the reason that NFTs, there's a couple different reasons that NFTs to me have really done well the last year. It's really the evolution of smart contracts. This time last year, or in the last 9-12 months, as you mentioned, is really when people have really started building useful smart contracts and some of these protocols that allow you to launch NFTs have become easier to use. So that's sort of just a function of the usability of networks and these protocols. And then secondly, I would just say like the evolution of just cutting out the middleman overall. Like that's, you know, the centralization of any good or service. So like we could use music, for example. A lot of independent artists, we saw them launch over the last decade. You know, they made use of like YouTube and these other, there's forms of like decentralization. Like, for example, like YouTube is a little more decentralized or a lot more decentralized than like traditional MTV or something like that, where you had to like kind of just bend your will to them or whatever. But now we have, we're taking decentralization even further. So like YouTube would be in the middle of this like hierarchy of decentralization or whatever you want to call it. So at the top would be like non-fungible tokens, where users can actually take like completely cut out any intermediary and really take, control of their own destiny in numerous ways by tokenizing their work or themselves or however they, the various forms of tokenization. But yeah, I think it's all like culminating, and it doesn't hurt that we have sound money with Bitcoin and other things to get in and out of too, to really just completely play in a new playground. You're completely outside of the old system in that regard. So it's definitely interesting, the emergence of NFTs, and I think everything in the long run will end up being an NFT. Like anything like important that you want to hold over time, like you're going to have birth certificates and things like that that'll probably be, I think basically our entire lives will be on some sort of centralized blockchain eventually, probably. It just seems inevitable. And that's why it's also important to understand, the differences. Like that's okay if they want to, it might actually be easier to like transfer medical records and stuff like that if you want on chain. But it's important to understand why you don't want to have your money tied into a centralized database, for example. So it's going to be important to not get caught up in like central bank digital currencies where they could just shut your money off, and understand the difference. So you have to understand it's very nuanced subject, but I think more and more people are starting to understand it all.
Yeah, many people in the world have been totally surprised with the incredible prices of NFT. How one may pay $69 million per such a gift card. But we are Austrians with you. We are not surprised because we know the core principle of Austrian economics, the principle of subjective value. The value is the category which exists only in your hand. If the buyer buys NFT for 69 million, he values this NFT for 69 million. Do you think that these incredible prices of some specific NFTs totally approve the core principle of the Austrian economics, the subjective value principle? That's why everybody who is involved in NFT space should pay attention on Austrian economics like a science which explains these incredible values. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think that's actually a very interesting way to look at it, because I haven't heard anybody else really, other than, Austrians like yourself, looking at it through that lens. So it is interesting to like, does this sort of verify our convictions that, subjective value theory and ordinal rank and things like that really determine the price, what the value is of something. And Bitcoin's been the perfect example of that overall. And then inside of that, obviously, we have the DeFi market too. But yeah, I think I put out a tweet the other day. It was a log scale of Bitcoin since 2009, and I just put out, this is what the market looks. This is what the market determining the price of money in log scale looks like over time. So I think that the more these networks, I have to talk about Bitcoin because we see that these networks are, for example, Bitcoin is following, in my opinion, is like the perfect example of Metcalfe's law on money. So, but then you have like different levels of fungibility. Like Bitcoin isn't completely fungible. Privacy coins would be like another level of fungibility up. So on the bottom is non-fungible tokens. So there's also scale to all this stuff too. But I think that the market, individual actors paying those sort of prices on the market for art is, it's verification that that we determine prices, the individual determine prices, not the collective. And that's what Bitcoin is with sound money too. It's the market determining the price of money, of real money.
Well, there were some categories of people of crypto, non-crypto people who were not even expected to look into the crypto realm, such as artists, musicians, so on and so forth. How do you think have the NFTs in general led to the mass adoption on the blockchain technology in this audience who even did know about the blockchain, didn't pay attention on that?
Right. Yeah, that's another good question, because a lot of people, I think a lot of these celebrities, they'll come and go, and they like to ride the hot wave, that you can see even like influencers that really don't have much to do with crypto on YouTube or whatever. They kind of like to ride the hot bull market wave, and then they'll disappear. But over time, some of those people stay, and we red pill more and more people. It's just like retail and the average investor. Some of them come in and they get wrecked and they leave, and they're washed out. And they might not come back for a while. But every time this happens, more and more people stay in the ecosystem, and it just gets bigger and bigger. So I think it's very inevitable what we're seeing in NFTs. We're just touching the iceberg of NFTs. They're going to be so big.
Okay, let's proceed to our topic. NFT in general, they may represent any potential unique object, such a digital or even physical object. Of course, we do understand that the potential use cases of NFTs are much more wider than just digital art or collectibles or even gaming. How do you see the potential use cases for NFTs, like a tool and the nearest 5, 7, 10 years?
Yeah, I think the art case is very interesting, and I think that'll be a big player in the NFT space, and music as well. But just the fact that you could have like these very rare pieces of art and hold these digital galleries all over the world without actually having to secure the art, move the art, transport yourself and a crew somewhere, just the overall ease of the entire process. But I think it's going to be really big for music also, and even people like myself that like to write. If you're an author or something like that, the ability to create these sort of NFTs that you could represent your work somehow as a non-fungible token it's the future. It really is. It's exciting because a couple of years ago this wasn't even. I mean, we kind of knew that things like this. These different things were going to pop up on the blockchain, but we had no idea that something so powerful, like you mentioned, the $69 million or whatever it was, the NFT painting that went for that much. It's like, or the NFT that went for that much. It's like, it's just amazing. We're living in a very unreal time. I was talking to somebody the other day in a podcast, and I said, I wake up sometimes and I still can't believe Bitcoin exists. And now we have this entire DeFi playground too. It's like, it's a lot of hope and promise for people that, don't want to be trying to change the legacy system within. If you want to build your own thing, that's how, I forget who said that, but there's that famous quote that if you want to like replace if you want to change the existing system, you have to just replace it. So I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah, okay. I should say that we should mention 69 fiat dollars. We're talking about government money, because the word fiat is renowned for even non-crypto people. It was never 10 years ago. It wasn't the same. It's super excited just due to crypto adoption. Let's switch to Austrian economics. I especially love the Western crypto community, the community of US or Europe, because when they talk about cryptocurrencies and blockchain, they also often mention Austrian economics, and vice versa. When they talk about Austrian economics, they often talk about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Why this is so? Why do you think it's so?
The DNA of the Satoshi white paper, the protocol, the fact that he embedded chancellors on brink, a second bailout for banks in the Genesis block. The entire thing is just like it's always made sense to me. Ever since I read that white paper in 2009, I had that feeling that Bitcoin would enable us towards this path. I mean, anybody that would tell you that they knew that it was going to happen is a liar. Like, we know, none of us knew. We all thought it was like very, fringe sort of like, we had a lot of hopes, but we didn't know how it would catch on. There were a lot of problems then, with the Silk Road and things. Like, there was a lot of negative press, so we didn't know what would happen. But really, just the decentralized nature of Bitcoin and the decentralized idea of Austrian economics, like owning yourself. If what is the idea that if you can separate from your country, your state, your locale, your city, your community, complete sovereignty. I think that's really what Bitcoin represents, is just like the complete sovereignty of the individual. And that's just like completely in harmony with Austrian economics and, sound money and markets and just peace, really, just peace. And I think that, you can't have peace without sound money. And there's so much waste with fiat currency and the expropriation of what you and I earn or any other person earns through statism. So it really just creates an entire game of trying to vote away the property of other people, basically to your whim, or the collective whim of the majority. So I think we're heading towards. I think that maybe the pendulum is swinging now. We might have reached ultimate collectivism. I hope, at least. Like, maybe we're heading towards decentralization now. That's my hope, that through Bitcoin and everybody that gets into Bitcoin learns about Austrian economics too, because it's impossible with people like you and I to it's impossible not to hear about it with people like you and I out there talking about it all the time. So,
by the way, have you ever explored how many people in your local crypto community in the US are Austrian economics listeners, knowers, fans? I don't know how to say, people who know about Austrian economics. The percentage: 10%, 20%, 50%. How many?
I'd give you a percentage wise. I would say probably 35, 40%. I would say we're probably somewhere around there. And I would only say that it's that low because other people, and I mean, that's actually a high number, but I would say it could be higher. But we had a lot of new faces come in over the last year, people that I met, and they haven't done the work yet. They're too busy watching the charts. So hopefully during the next bear market, they read the classics.
How do you see, does crypto space lead its participants, new guys, to know more about Austrian economics? Because if they sometime get into the crypto space, they inevitably will hear about Austrian economics, especially in the developed Western world.
Well, if you're on my Twitter, or anybody that runs in my circles Twitter, you're going to definitely see me posted about Austrian economics or on a podcast. Just overall, I think it's just like they're inextricably linked. You can't really talk about sound money without Austrian economics, and you can't talk about Austrian economics in the digital epoch without Bitcoin. So their two are just like this. They're just, I think it's a good time for us because we're really lucky to live through this, because there wasn't as much promise like when Mises or even Rothbard, was writing maybe like 50 years ago or whatever. There wasn't as much optimism probably.
Yeah, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you are sharing the idea of the sound money, you should ask yourself a question. You should know what sound money, what does it mean, sound money? And this is the right question to the Austrian economics answers right. What is sound money? Just for example, the book of Joseph Lerner, Money, Sound and Sound, from Mises Institute from Alabama. An excellent book. You should read it, and many other books. And the final question, sir, why do you think crypto enthusiasts should learn more about Austrian economics? I partly answered your opinion. And more, but what are the first steps to start learning about Austrian economics for crypto enthusiasts? Maybe your personal ways suggest, please. Read, listen, Mises Institute, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, if you really want to understand what money is, I would highly recommend going to Mises.org. They taught me so much about it. And then I would just go through and start. If you don't have a lot of time to read, go to youtube.com, or one of these other sites that host all of the Mises University lectures. They have a week every year. I think it's in the summer. It might be coming up. Is it coming up? Where they host students and Mises seminar, and all that stuff is live, or they normally do it live, and then it's recorded for posterity on YouTube. So it's like getting a better education than you get at Harvard or something like that for free on YouTube, and you actually learn about sound money and not communism and Marxism. So it's definitely go over there and read that, or listen to that. But as far as like reading a text, if you want to learn about sound money, subjective value theory, why capitalism is the why capitalism is the system that we want, you just read Man, Economy, and State with Power and Market by Murray Rothbard. And it's not exactly a short book to just dip your feet into. It's like 11, 12, 1,300 pages, but it's worth it. And it's writhing for the layman too. Like, it's not just like some high, very hard to read book. Like some of Mises's work is a little bit harder to read, but Rothbard really like made it readable for the average person to read. You don't have to be like some economics doctorate student or something to read Rothbard. So I would read that, and it'll really make sense of like why we're seeing Bitcoin rise, why central banks are virtually the enemy of humanity. And it'll just bring everything together. If you want to tie Bitcoin together with like what you're seeing today with inflation at whatever it is, 15-20% probably, and you want to understand why this is happening the way it is and why Bitcoin is worth $32,000 as we record this today, it'll really illuminate it all.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you may find all the excellent heritage of the Austrian Economics economists books, podcasts on the Mises Institute. The link is written down below, Mises.org, the excellent YouTube channel. By the way, pay attention on Saifedean Ammous' upcoming book named The Fiat Standard, after his two first book, The Bitcoin Standard and the Principles of Economics. It's our modern living Leban American Austrian economist, perfect guy. Find him on the internet. He gives great seminars, great podcasts. Excellent. Listen to him. He's a modern guy speaking about Bitcoin, Austrian economics. Well, Mr. Bryer, it's always a great pleasure to talk to you about crypto and Austrian economics. Thank you very much for your vision. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Nifty podcast. It's supported by the Nifty protocol. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button for not missing the future episodes. You may also always find Bryer, aka Pittsburgh HODLr, on his website, bryer.io, or on Twitter. Links are written down below. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episodes. Bye.